Hello everyone, a very good morning to all. So in this video, we are starting with semiconductors. On the basis of conduction, solids can be divided into three categories, that is conductors, semiconductors, and insulators. Conductors are those which allows the passage of electric current. That means which conducts electricity are the conductors. In case of semiconductors, the conductance lies in between. So let us first discuss about the insulators. So insulators are those solids which do not allow the passage of electric current. That means they do not conduct electricity. For the case of semiconductors, the conductance lies in between to that of conductors and the insulators, and their conductance is in the range of 10 raised to power 2 to 10 raised to power minus 9 per ohm per centimeter. So in general, conductivity depends upon the energy gap between the filled energy band and next vacant energy band. So these energy bands will be discussing while discussing the metallic bonding, I guess that will come in the next chapter. For now, you can just have a viewpoint here that just an idea about what are these energy bands. So there is two bands are there which are called as energy bands. One is called as conduction band and another is called as valence band. Valence band is present just below the conduction band, and the gap between them, the energy gap between them decides about the property, decides about the solid, that it is a conductor, it is an insulator, or it is a semiconductor. If the energy gap is very large, conduction band is there, which is present, valence band is there, which is present below, and conduction band is there, which is present just above it. So whenever there is a large gap between the valence band and the conduction band, those solids are called as insulators. So that the conduction mechanism takes place whenever the electrons can jump from the valence band to the conduction band. So whenever there is a large energy gap between these two bands, electrons cannot jump from the valence band to the conduction band, and for those solids are called as insulators. For conductors, there is no gap between the valence band and the conduction band. These two bands are overlapping in the case of conductors. So electrons can easily travel from one band to the other in case of conductors. So that is why they conduct electricity. In case of semiconductors, this gap is very small at 0 Kelvin. So at 0 Kelvin, these behave as insulators, but at room temperature, we can say at other condition of temperature, what happens is this energy gap uh, become more and more smaller. So due to thermal vibrations and semiconductor, and there is a electron can easily jump from the valence band to the conduction band in that case when temperature is above 0 Kelvin. So due to this jumping of electrons, the semiconductors conduct electricity. So this is all about the conductors, insulators, and semiconductors, and the energy gap present between them, and due to which they can conduct or do not conduct electricity. Now, firstly, germanium and silicon, these are well-known semiconductors because their structure is similar to diamond. As we know that diamond is a structure where carbon is bonded to other four carbons, that is sp3 hybridized each carbon is, and so each carbon is making four bonds with four other carbons. Similarly here, germanium and silicon are bonded in such a way that each germanium is bonded to four other germanium. That means there is no free electrons. Whenever there is no free charge particles, then we say that there is no conduction is possible. So that means those samples are insulators. So at room temperature, this is the condition at 0 Kelvin, that there is no free electron, or we can say no or negligible free electron. That means no or negligible conductance. So at room temperature, what happens is the band gap at 0 Kelvin is for silicon is 105 kilojoule per mole, and for germanium it is 58 kilojoule per mole. So these germanium and silicon can behave as semiconductors at room temperature. What happens is this energy gap doesn't exist there at room temperature due to the thermal energy. This thermal energy overcomes this energy gap, and there is a movement of electrons from the conduction band, from the valence band to the conduction band. So that is why at room temperature these conduct electricity. So these germanium and silicon can behave as semiconductors in two ways. So there are two ways these samples can behave as silicon or germanium. First is intrinsic conduction. What is in the intrinsic conduction? So pure silicon and germanium, these are poor conductors as all the four bonds are intact. Now, if we heat the crystal, some bonds will break, and due to thermal vibrations, electrons will release. So these released electrons, now there are free electrons in the structure of silicon and germanium due to the thermal energy. We have provided the thermal energy which has resulted in the breakage of bonds, and the electrons have set free. So now when such crystals are connected to electric current, electrons will move, leaving behind holes in their place. So electrons will start moving in the direction of flow of electric current. So there will be movement of electrons whenever there is a shift of electron from one atom to the other, then behind this movement there is a hole which will be present there. So now if electric field is applied, electrons move in one direction and holes will move in the opposite direction. Now these electrons will move through the interstices as shown here. The electrons are going to move through the interstices. This is one interstitial space, this is the other. So electron is moving from here to here, but the holes are moving through the bonds. So if hole is present here, it is moving from here to here, then to there. So this is the movement of hole, which is it is through the bonds, and electrons are moving through the interstices. So this is this such kind of movement is there for electrons and holes when the electric current is connected. So now there is a movement of charged particles. The holes are also moving, the electrons are also moving. So such crystals are called as intrinsic semiconductors. Whenever there is a conduction, so there is their conduction is their intrinsic property. They have equal electrons and holes. Now there is a conduction, and this conduction is their intrinsic property. Intrinsic means their own property. We have not done anything extra. We have not doped anything into it. We haven't put any impurities. Now this conduction is an intrinsic property. So these type of crystals which are formed due to the thermal energy provided to them, there is a movement of electrons and holes is now possible. So whenever there is a movement of charged particles, that means that they will conduct electricity. So such materials are called as intrinsic semiconductors. Now we come to the extrinsic semiconductors. Silicon and germanium, they can be made to conduct electricity in the other way by introducing appropriate amount of impurities which help in carrying current. So what the other way is, except for the heating, what we do is we'll dope some impurities into the structure. So two types of impurities are there: donor impurities and acceptor impurities. So to silicon or germanium, as they are group 14 element, if we uh, if we dope aluminium, or we can say group 13 element into their structure, that is going to be a donor impurity. And if we put indium, if we put indium in the structure, or we can say group 13 element, then it is going to be the acceptor impurity. If we put group 15 element, that is arsenic here, in case of germanium, we have put arsenic in one case and indium in another case. Indium is group 13 element and arsenic is group 15 element. Then group 15, whenever there is a introduction of group 15 element into the group 14 element, then that is called as donor impurity. And in the other case, we have put indium into germanium, that is group 13 element into group 15 element, then that is called as acceptor impurity. So in both the cases, doping has been done. So what happens here is, when we have doped in the donor impurity type, we have put arsenic into germanium. Arsenic is having 5 valence electrons and germanium is having 4 valence electrons. So now there is one extra electron which is free, which is not involved in bonding, as there are 4 bonds which will be formed by arsenic as in the structure of germanium. So this fifth electron is set free, and this will lead to the conduction, as this is due to and this conduction is going to be due to the extra electrons present, which has been introduced due to the presence of impurity which we have put into the structure. That is why it is extrinsic, and the movement of charged particles here is due to the movement of electrons here. The charged particles are the electrons which are moving, which are responsible for the conductance. So that is why these charged particles are negatively charged. These are electrons. So that is why this type of semiconductors are called as n-type semiconductors. And the magnitude of conduction in case of extrinsic is far higher in comparison to that of intrinsic semiconductors. Similarly, here when we have put group 13 element here, one extra one electron is missing to make bond with the germanium. So there is a presence of hole. So this hole will be filled after getting electron donated from the neighboring element, that is neighboring germanium. So there will be a movement of this hole. So as the conduction, as there is a movement of positively charged particle, so the conduction is going to be due to the presence of holes in the structure. So that is why this which are positively charged. So that is why these type of semiconductors are called as p-type semiconductors. So next we have, and so here we have mentioned that this the conduction of extrinsic type of semiconductors is far higher in comparison to the conduction of intrinsic magnitude of intrinsic semiconductors. So both these types are electrically neutral. Also, the intrinsic as well as extrinsic semiconductors are electrically neutral. Here the electrical neutrality is due to the fact that there are charged particles, but we are putting neutral atoms, neutral elements. We are introducing neutral elements. Here arsenic is also neutral and indium is also neutral. Just that valence electrons, there is a difference in the number of valence electrons, and that is why there are charged particles present in the structure. So both these types are electrically neutral, as neutral atoms are added as impurity. So next we have, if we put this make this in donor and acceptor impurity, if we put simultaneously this at, if we say we have a crystal for silicon, and what we do is we put at one end we put arsenic, and at the other end we put indium. What will happen? At the one end there will be p-type semiconductor, and other is going to behave as n-type semiconductors, where whenever there is group 13 element, the side to which we have put group 13 element, that is going to behave as p-type, and the side where there is group 15 element we have doped, that is going to behave as n-type semiconductors. And the middle, there will be a boundary region. In the middle there will be a boundary region which is developed, and that boundary region is called as p-n junction. So such cases, such methods are very much useful for the development of some devices in physics. There is a p-n junction, there is an np junction. So these devices are very useful when in case of electronics. So this is the property of, this is the use of p-n junction in. So the use of p-n junction is there in electronics. So next we have defect semiconductors. Now what are defect semiconductors? As we have seen in solids, as we have discussed defects in solids, many compounds of the solids, when they have defects, they behave as semiconductors. And especially the non-stoichiometric semiconductors. Example, when we discussed about the compounds with metal excess or anion deficiency. This is the example of metal excess or anion deficiency. When number of anions is less, you say we have NaCl and chloride ions were less due to the presence of sodium vapors. We treated them with sodium vapors, which took away some of the chloride ions, and now the crystal is NaCl 1 minus X. The X is very small number which have gone missing, which have been taken by the sodium vapors. So these consist of F centers or Faraday centers, which are responsible for the conduction mechanism. And these Faraday centers are the electrons actually, and these are negatively charged, and there is a movement of negatively charged particles. due to which conduction is there. So that is why these are called as n-type semiconductors. So we can say that the metals which are having defects, that is non-stoichiometric compounds which are having defects, and that those defects which are metal excess or anion deficiency defects, those are called as n-type semiconductors. And the compounds which are having metal deficiency and extra anion kind of defect, that is there is a number of cations is less in comparison to the anions. If we take the example of if some metal is missing, as we treated zinc oxide when we discussed the example of zinc oxide, and uh, zinc ions were missing from the zinc oxide. So what happened, there was movement of holes, there was hole was created there, and there was movement of holes, and the movement of charged particles here, the particle which is moving here, which is leading to conduction, is the positively charged. So those compounds are called as p-type semiconductors. The only drawback with these type of compounds, with these type of semiconductors which have been introduced due to the defect in solids, so these type of semiconductors, these are difficult to reproduce because we cannot measure the degree of defect which we have introduced. These are natural defects which are present in these samples. We cannot uh, control these defects which we have introduced, so we cannot fix the composition. So these are very difficult, or we can say almost impossible to reproduce, and these cannot undergo large deviation in stoichiometry. So the stoichiometry, this x is going to be very small, so large variation in stoichiometry is not possible in case of these type of solids. So next we have the next category of semiconductor is the controlled valence semiconductors. So these are generated by replacing some ions with higher or lower oxidation state counterparts. Say we have nickel oxide. This is a metal oxide, which we say this is a semiconductor, or this is not a conductor, this is a semiconductor which will conduct electricity which due to the defects, and we can increase its conduction by introducing some more defects. Here we are introducing, we are putting the defect, we are introducing something into its structure so that we can increase its conduction. So this, and we can convert it to controlled valence semiconductor. We can control its conduction. So what we are doing here is we are doping it with lithium oxide. We are here in the structure of nickel oxide, we are doping it with lithium oxide, as the size of lithium and nickel is almost same. So here we are treating here nickel oxide with lithium oxide. The structure which is generated here is this. So here the nickel is +2 charged and the lithium is having +1 charge. Here X amount of lithium is introduced and X amount of nickel has been removed. And X amount of 3 positive valence, where the valency of nickel is 3 positive, is introduced, and dipositive nickel which has been removed is 1 minus 2x. So here what we have done is, as they are lithium and nickel 2 plus are having similar size, so they can easily replace each other. But the only problem is their electrical neutrality will not be maintained if we replace just nickel ions with lithium ions, nickel 2 plus ions with lithium ions. So to maintain electrical neutrality, the same amount of the numbers of lithium ions which have been improved, the same number of nickel ions are going to get converted into nickel 3 plus to maintain the electrical neutrality. So in this way, the scope of movement of holes is introduced as we have doped lithium into its structure. So now the movement of charged particles is possible. So such type of semiconductors which have been made due by the controlled valence method, here we can control the valency of the introduced atom. So such type of semiconductors are called as p-type semiconductors. And here we control the ratio of, here we can also control the ratio of lithium to nickel, and thus the electrical conductivity can be controlled. Say if we introduce 1 mole of lithium into nickel, the electrical conductivity is something. And if we introduce 2 moles, then we can know that if we want this much of conduction, how much lithium is to be introduced into the lattice of nickel oxide. So this is how it is done. So this way electrical conductivity can also be controlled. So that is why the name has been given to these type of compounds, that is controlled valence semiconductors. So this is all about semiconductors, and this is all about your first unit, that is ionic solids. So that is it for this video. Thank you so much. In with the next video, we'll be starting with our next unit, that is unit 2 of your syllabus. So thank you so much. Have a good day.